afternoon. It's not morning today, it's afternoon. It is. My name is Terry Morgan, and we are here to practice. We're going to practice a couple of things. I'm going to turn this other light on. And one of the things that we're going to pay attention to today is this idea. I'm still talking about fundamentals and foundations and all of that. And I talked about perspective a little bit yesterday, and the idea that these paintings here behind me have significance other than, yeah, well, they're pretty and they take up a lot of wall space, right? That perspective and the understanding that comes with are part of what I went looking for when I very first went to China. It's part of my own development and my pursuit of the understanding that I currently have, as well as what more I can gain. In practice, let me talk about this for a second. In practice, we have, and we're gonna do this here. In practice, we have these fundamentals. Some things are just, this is what we do. This is a high horse stance. This is a basic standing position. Feet together, salute. Right? We have some. This is a forward stance. This is a back stance. This is right. These basics, hand positions as well. You know, it's a fist, right? It's a fist. It's up, this out, this down, that's out. Direction, which direction am I going? What am I doing in that movement? How we do those movements is more my focus this morning, because this is something that it came up in another discussion, and I think it really does merit my time to pay attention to it. And that is the idea that as we're learning, we are engaged by and limited by what we have available to us. So if I had been born in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, the chances that my English would be the level it is right now are pretty much zero. Zero. Okay? Wouldn't happen. Not possible. If I had been born in Milan, northern Italy, my English wouldn't even be close to what it is now. I would speak English perhaps with a British accent, and I would be very likely to have some skills not only in my native Italian, but Swiss and German and maybe a couple other languages, because it would be natural for me in my environment in Milan, Italy, to hear all of these different languages, to be able to put that into context. Where did I hear this? What is this person trying to say? Then, you understood that. Come. Guolai means the same thing in Chinese. Come. That understanding is fundamental. to what we're doing in the martial arts. If I come out of a city background, I've grown up in a city, I've never really been in the countryside. I've been in parks from time to time, but most of my experience is completely urban. I know where the shops are, I know how to get from point A to point B, I know where the subway stops are, I know where the bus stops are, I know how to get around in my environment. And I know where to get what I need to get in my environment. Take me out of that environment, put me on a farm in the countryside. Oh, what do I do with this cow thing? It's big. It's big and it smells bad. I don't want to go there. But I have to get eggs. Where's the store to go buy the eggs? No, there's a chicken, and you go get the eggs from the chicken. But right? Reverse that. Person's grown up on farm. They understand all of the things that need to happen in order to bake a loaf of bread. They don't go to the store to buy it, they make it. Maybe it's flatbread, maybe it's not the nice rising bread that comes from the bakery, maybe it's a flatbread, maybe it's a maybe it's a pan bread, maybe it's something that is possible in that environment. Once we put this idea into context of what we practice in the martial arts and how we move, because that's a big part of what I've been talking about. It's not what we're doing, it's how we do it. Right? Tai Chi isn't, and I'm gonna show this, because this is wrong, don't do it. Right? At the beginning, Tai Chi, Yang style Tai Chi. Do not do this, it's wrong. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it a little bit different. Still wrong. Don't do this. No. Neither of those is correct. I'm going to do a third time. This is also not correct. It's closer, but it's not. What's correct? What was different? Do the comparison. What was different? First time, I was stiff and all my hands, only my hands are moving. Second time, I was still pretty stiff and I was flapping my hands. Third time, not so stiff, but the only thing that moved was my arms. So everything else was stuck. I didn't move anything else. Fourth time, the one that I said was correct, everything moved, including my breath, including my internal energy, including a couple of things that I really haven't talked about that much, but are part of what we practice, and that's my point. I know this. How do I know this? Well, study, practice, more study, talking with my teachers, talking with other people, reading books, more practice, more study, and importantly, exposure to what it should be. Not what this person over here says. Here's 50 people that are all teaching the same art, and they're all going to agree that, yeah, well, this is good, this is not. This is the correct way to do, this is not the correct way to do. That standard is what I work with. So, one person says, yeah, whatever, and I expect that that should be your standard as well. If just me saying it, it's not good enough. There needs to be more than one person saying whatever it is. And there needs to be some kind of explanation other than, I said so. Unless it's your teacher, and then your teacher can say, I said so as long as they want, right? There's times when I ask my teacher something, he said, well, because that's what my teacher told me. It's the equivalent of I said so. That it's been handed down, this is what we should do. Process is why you want a teacher, right? There's things that I would not have ever learned had I not studied with the particular teachers I studied with. Would not have happened. I would not have understood the difference between Kashetti method and the Russian school if I had not studied with someone who learned the Kashetti method, Miss Shirley Weaver, and Miss Titania Dugodovska, who studied the Russian method, right? There are different methods for movement in ballet. In Tai Chi, I studied Yang style Tai Chi with Huang Weilun. I took some seminars and a couple of workshops with Yang Zhendo. They move differently. They're different teachers. The principles that they taught are very, very closely connected. They're both teaching Yang style Tai Chi. Huang Weilun learned from a student of Yang Zhendo's father. Yang Zhendo learned from his older brother. They learned from different people, so their emphasis was a little bit different. They also had different body types, so that was different. The standard of practice was the same. The expectation was not, well, yeah, try this. This is what the movement is, do it. It's not halfway, this is the movement, do it. And if you can't use it, that was something that I learned from Professor Liu Zhang. If you're not paying attention to what the application is, it's not a martial art anymore. If there's no foundation in application, if you can't conceive of using it, then it's not a martial art. Now, having said all of that, I can do that, back fist, back fist. It comes from the shoulder, extends through the arm, and goes out with the idea that I'm going to hit something with the back of my hand. It's empty. It's empty. There's no substance to it. It's from my arm. The rest of me isn't engaged. That idea is something that I've seen repeatedly be missing in quite a few practitioners that didn't have the benefit or the competition to be able to see, well, what level really are we here? What level are we talking about? And I'm going to use an example that pretty much everybody's going to recognize, and I'm going to do this back fist thing in a minute. The NBA. Basketball is elite, right? play on an NBA team, you are being paid really well, you're a really tall person, and you can play the game really well. You don't get there without it. It doesn't happen. Okay? A player that is 4'3" might be someone who can play the game really well, but they're not going to be drafted by the NBA. They're not. It's not going to happen. Person who is 6'9" but can't move very well, they might be able to play a little bit, but they're not going to be drafted by the NBA. They're not. That level of skill that takes you up here is what the NBA is looking for. The standard players on the court today, that's the standard. Can you play with the players who are on the court today? And that, I'm going to say that for both the NBA and the WNBA. Can you get on the court and play with the players who are on the court? If you can, you might be considered. If you can't, go sit down in the cheering section and cheer them on, learn something, go back to a smaller group, go back to a different group, go to another level and practice there. You want to get that, you want to be up here at this level, practice more. Again, some things are just never going to happen. I talked about that quite a bit with my own practice, in that, and I talked about this, the idea that from here, doing a straight up jump, fly, kick, and land in the same spot, never going to happen. It don't. Because I'm not going to work for it. I'm not going to try. Someone else might. Being able to do that move usually is someone who is slender and has learned how to make themselves light so that they can go up. Jumps in basketball, you know how to make yourself light to be able to go up. I'm not good at that, never was. Knowing that, this is my limitation, this is something that I can develop it a little bit better. I can work on my low work, I can work on other things that I know I can do. Understanding my own level, understanding what I'm going to work on, what I'm not going to work on, doesn't mean that I let go of the standard that I should have for what I'm doing. So if this is the back fist thing, alright, from the shoulder only, there it is, that's it. Shoulder, a little bit of elbow. Shoulder, a little bit of elbow, that's it. If there was something here that I could hit, you would see how it moves, right? Something that's not just shoulder and elbow, that's the standard that I have for what that movement should look like. No. Yes. If I'm tapping something, I'm going to knock on your door. I'm going to, hey, anybody home? Yeah, I might do that. No. Did you want to, you know, you didn't really want to get in my face with that, did you? Right? that sense of what am I doing, how am I doing it, what is the standard, what is normal, what's the foundation for what we're doing in this movement. I'm going to keep going just a little bit more. In Tai Chi, right? So I'm going to use Yang style Tai Chi first, and then I'm going to do something else. Right? So in Tai Chi, right? Here, open, raise the hands, pull down, shift, come around, sink, bring the foot through, lace it, and step forward. More or less. This is wrong, don't do it. No. There's no connection. There's nothing smooth, and I wasn't even paying attention to where I was going, right? Ready. It matters. Shift. It's not sloppy. It's well formed and well placed. As I bring the hands down, I begin to settle my weight so that I'm still sinking. As I step this ward off over here. This ward off over here. There's some meaning to this, okay? Right? As I step through, pull down, ward off. If my weight is not distributed, if I'm not using my legs, if I'm not paying attention to how I step, there's not going to be that much meaning in that step. Empty. Ick. No. The same concept in Xingyi, in Bagua, in sword. Sword has the extension. If we're not fully engaged and fully committed in the movement, if I'm thinking about doing the movement, I'm not fully engaged in the movement. I'm thinking about doing the movement. I'm out here thinking about, let me do this, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to turn my hand this way, and then I'm going to turn this way. I'm going to step back, and then I'm going to go forward, right? As I turn, as I move, I have to know what I'm doing. I can't be thinking about it. I have to be able to do it. That level of engagement is not something, again, it's not something that I've seen nearly as much of as I would like to have seen in some of the performances and some of the folks that I've seen do things. The level of commitment to what they're doing isn't there. It's still thinking about, I'm going to think about what I'm doing, okay? I'm going to think about what I'm doing. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do. The opening for Xingyi 5 elements linking form. Right? Start here And I'm just marking this is not correct, right? Set, 1, 2, 3. Okay? That was empty. Nothing there. It really wasn't. There was nothing there. So, step in 1, step back 2, step up 3. The right movements. No. And on the first day of class, it would be clear that that's not right. First day of my class, that's, no. That might be okay if you're still thinking about it. Let me think about this. All right, step in with the left and step back with the left. Hung Chuan, step in with the right, close. All right, let me think about the footwork, okay? So I'm going to step left, and then I'm going to step back, and then I'm going to step up. All right? I thought about it. I did it. Right? That's not enough. It's not. The distance, and I'm going to keep my distance a little bit short. The distance isn't as important as whether or not there's substance in the move. The Bongchuan comes from here, straight out. It's immediate, it's prompt, and it goes. There's no hesitancy at all in Xingyi. If you don't know where you're going, you need to practice that so that you do. Right? Step in, Bongchuan. Step back, Hongchuan. Step in, Bongchuan again. That placement, being prompt, being sudden, being able to contain and extend the force. So as you're stepping forward, you have to contain this part. Otherwise you throw yourself off balance. It's the same as if you hit a heavy bag and you're not well placed, you're going to throw yourself backward. That placement, that stability in the move, and the level that we pay attention to is the same as that. Am I looking at the junior high, just getting started girls basketball team, or am I looking at the WNBA? It's a difference. In some cases, the person who wanted to learn doesn't have that NBA, WNBA model. It's Lambator, right? I don't have a good English language model because, yeah, there are not that many English language speakers in my hometown. Alright, that's going to be a problem for my English. It may be fine for Russian. It could also be fine for a couple of dialects of Chinese. Yeah, probably not going to help me with my English, but I could be multilingual, just not with English. That difference, the difference in understanding that comes from, did I grow up in a city? Did I grow up on a farm? Where is my foundation? what did I start with that I've used to develop my skills, that I've used to develop my abilities. I started with sports when I was a kid. I studied dance formally. It wasn't and I worked first line. I did the work. My Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bagua, I've earned a lot of medals and trophies for performances. That reinforced my own learning to say, well, in this situation, these people looked at what I'm doing and said, hey, not bad. Another situation is, other people, completely different people, looked at what I was doing and said, yeah, not bad. Another situation they looked at, and what was that? Had that. All these people said, yay, that's pretty good. These folks over here said, we don't know what that is. It's not their fault. It's a gap. These people know. They say, yeah, it's good. These people don't know. They say, I don't know. What do I do with that? How do you figure it out? How do you look at something and decide, is this any good? Should I pay attention to this? What if you do? What if you do? What if you say, all right, benefit of the doubt, I'm going to pay attention to this idea that every movement I do in my Tai Chi form should have a sense about it that underneath the outward movement, it's Wudang style, there is something more. That there's substance to the move, there's substance to the form, and that the extent of the movement follows what the teacher taught. Is it close? Yeah, pretty close. Close to what I learned. I could do a little bit more, a little bit lower in a couple of places. I could work on that. Knowing that, that's what I remember. That practice at 6 o'clock in the morning, in the winter, in Zhengzhou, when it's really cold, because I wanted to learn. That experience and the memories I have of what I learned at that time are my foundation. That's where part of my foundation comes from. I've studied dance before that. I was already a Tai Chi champion before I went to China. But I learned so much more. And that is what I'm really trying to focus on this week, is that difference in perspective that comes with the more we learn. It's not that, and I'm going to say it this way, it's not that someone in China today who's, let's say, 15, 20, that's a young person, say 20 years old, they aren't going to know any of what I learned 30 years ago. They weren't here. They're only 20 years old now. I was there 30 years ago. It was different then. My perspective comes from my time. Their perspective comes from their time. So in my time, getting to the park before 6 a.m. was preferred because they started charging for tickets at 6. And everybody went to the park to do something. It was very crowded. There was ballroom dancing, there was badminton, there was lots of martial arts, there was all sorts of games, and just people having a good time at 6 o'clock in the morning in the park in the winter. Yes. Here we go. That culture doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't. It had, and I saw, this is my own eyes, I saw it. What is today is different than what I saw the last time I was there, which was about 5 years ago. And at that time, there were still people that went out to practice first thing in the morning. I was one of them. We were there. And there were fewer. Not so many young people. Not so many people interested in learning martial arts. People were practicing. Yeah, we've been practicing for a long time. We're going to keep practicing. But not so much. And then with COVID and air quality issues, all kinds of things, the emphasis on going outside to be healthy so that you can do some exercise and be healthy, yeah, that had to change. With more urban development, less need for, let's go do the physical things, we really want to study more, we want to learn more, that changed as well. So what there is today is not what I experienced. It's not. And my experience, again, that is my foundation. What I'm asking in these classes is that through my perspective on what is foundation for particular art, and you see me keep standing here, that is foundation, it really is. As I can pace around and I can do it, it's not comfortable to look at, and it's distracting. That foundation, understanding that, is something that I had to learn when I started these classes. Why keep learning? That perspective, I'm going to be open to what do I not know today. I don't expect I know everything. I've learned these things. I've learned some things here. I've got a pretty good idea of everything that I do, but not everything that's possible to do. I know what I'm doing. I can't see you, so I don't know what you're doing. And the things that I know are possible, some of them I don't do. I've seen excellent monkey form. I've seen some pretty amazing longsword, and I've seen all sorts of other things that I don't do. They're good. How do I know they're good? Fundamentals. If I see a horse stance, I see somebody straining in a horse stance right here, like this. No. No. That's not a good horse. No. Now we can talk. That difference is part of my foundation. And that difference is sometimes, more sometimes than not, missing the understanding of what that difference is. What's different? I'm here. Right? Yeah. Horse stance. Right? Horse stance. Double punch forward. Right? Horse stance. Double punch forward. Right? So, no leaning back. Right? No leaning forward either. Has to be straight. Because this comes out, should come out straight. This is not quite correct for my hand position. Horse stance. Double punch, horse stance. Why is that not complete? Why is it not complete? Well, this part's correct, and this part's correct, and this part's correct, and this part's correct. Why is it not complete? What's missing? The level is very basic. Okay, that's a person that just walked in the door. Okay, or it could be someone who's just marking. Let me mark this. Okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Okay, you can mark it. That's fine. If that's the expected performance, no. Something more here is what I'd expect. Now, show me the second one. That difference in expectation. I'm going to go this side, this side. What do I expect to see? That's the difference in foundation. That's the difference in level. And that's the difference that comes with, I intend this to be a martial art and I'm fully committed to doing that movement. Versus, well, yeah, I'm still thinking about, oh, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and now I'm here. Okay, good. I'm there. All right, I'm there. That process, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and check. Okay, that process is something we go through, but that is far from complete. The commitment isn't there. I'm still thinking about what I'm doing. It's out there. It's not part of who I am. It's not part of my foundation in such a way that as I breathe, I can move. It's connected. That connection, I'm step here, move here. That connection is missing. It needs to be there. So, the movement's complete. It's connected. It's well placed and well formed. And there is something more behind what's being done. That double punch to the front, we pretty much know what we're doing there. All right, that sense of what are we doing in this move? Ward off. It's not this. It's not. I don't know what that is. This is ward off. This is pull down. This is ward off. Yang style. I'm going to grab. I might break it if I do that. I could. Okay, pull down. Ward off. Ward off. Ward off. Single hand, ward off. If I don't have that sense, which this doesn't give me that sense, right? Ward off. Hand placement. There's substance here. Let me do something. No. 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 Yes. That connection through the whole body. For Tai Chi especially, I'm looking for that. If it's a different style, a different system, something else that maybe I've never seen it before. I've seen some things that I might not want to have seen, but I've seen some things that I've never seen before, done extremely well by someone who was clearly well trained and had practiced what they were doing. I might not recognize every movement, but I could see underneath the person understood what they were doing. There's martial art, they know what they're doing. And I want to, what is that? That's probably more likely. But, alright, so that's where my straight punch should be for practice. Now, I might have to try and do something, but I wouldn't do that. Anyway, that sense of purpose, placement, the underlying meaning of the movement. It's not flap the hands, right? Ward off to both sides. White crane spreads its wings. It's not here. It's not just put your hand up in the air, one hand up in the air and one hand down. It's not. Understanding those differences, when we look at what someone else is doing, when we look at what we're doing ourselves, does that make sense? Is there an application that's underneath available somewhere? If not, is it the practitioner? Maybe their understanding is incomplete. Is it something inherent in the movement itself that's the problem? That's not push. It's not. That's push. First one, there's a problem with the movement. Second, alright, being able to make that evaluation for yourself is what I'm trying to get to with this class. I'm going to stop here for today. I'll be back again tomorrow. We're still doing foundations. We'll work a little bit more on this concept of what am I looking at and what's my perspective? How do I know what this is versus what that is? Should it be more like that? Should it be more like this? What belongs where? And how do we look at what's being done so we can at least have a sense of, does this person know what they're talking about, or is this just they just talking? Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.